I'd like to call today's board meeting to order. Our typical announcements will begin with, I'd like to inform everyone that Falmouth Community Television, also known as FCTV, and Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, are making audio and video recordings of today's meeting. If anyone else is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by telephone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Lisa, are you recording? Lisa is in the room. Lisa Huffstetter, and you just said. Thank you. Jason?
Good morning, everyone. Jason Graziadei, Nantucket Current.
Thank you. Lynn?
Lynn Hutchinson, the Falmouth Enterprise.
Thank you. And S.M. Harris? Oh, that's.
Susan Vaughn, Cape Cod Times.
Thank you. All set. Thank you. Pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, as amended, Board Member Maura Turney is participating remotely in today's meeting because her physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. Because of that, participating in the meeting via Zoom video conferencing app, all members will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of the remote participation, any and all votes taken by members today shall be by roll call vote. And to identify the board members, the entire board is here today. I'll have each board member introduce themselves. Peter Jeffrey, Falmouth board member and current chair.
Bob Jones, sponsor board.
Rob Randy, Nantucket, current secretary of the board.
Jim Malkin, Martha's Vineyard rep.
Maura Tierney, New Bedford's representative.
And the vice chair this year. All right, and next order of business, I'd just like to welcome and introduce the new general manager of the Steamship Authority, Alex Kryska. Alex, thank you so much for joining us, and I think we have an exciting year ahead, as we'll be discussing throughout this meeting. At this point, Alex, is there anything you'd like to say as introductory remarks before we move on to the meeting?
No, just say that I'm very happy to be here. I'm excited about the possibilities. I've met a lot of the staff so far, and I've been very pleased with how eager and how hardworking and diligent they are. And I'm looking forward to having a great year with the team and working with the board and the Port Council and everybody else involved in building the Steamship Authority up even more than where it is now.
Thank you. And once again, welcome. And at this point, if we could identify what staff members are here at today's meeting.
Sure, I'll take the lead on that. Mark Rozum, Treasurer Comptroller. With us from staff, we have Mark Munson, our Chief Operating Officer, Terrence Keneally, our General Counsel, Sean Driscoll, our Director of Communications, Allison Fletcher, Director of Shoreside Operations, Zach Lawrence, our Director of Engineering, Janice Kennethek, Director of Human Resources, Angela Campbell, our Reservations and Customer Service Manager, Stephen Coleman, our Director of IT, and Caroline Muldoon, our Grants Administrator. And then Gordon Carr from the Port Council is here as well.
All right, next order of business is the approval of minutes, board minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve. The minutes of December 4th meeting in public session, the minutes of December 9th meeting in public session, and the minutes of the board's meeting on December 31st in public session. Terrence, is it possible we can just do one joint motion? All right.
I'd move the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Malkin, aye.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, I, with the exception of I have to abstain on December 31st minutes.
All right. All the meeting minutes have passed. Next, Gordon, Port Council report.
Morning, everyone. Gordon Carr from the Port Council. We had our meeting 2 weeks ago today. We had a good conversation about the reservation system update. We moved that up the agenda a bit so that the full complement of the council could talk about that, talk about the workshop that we'll be having this afternoon and the town halls that will be held upcoming. We got the regular round of updates that you will from the staff and from Mark that you'll be getting shortly. And then I think there were 2 public comments, one an inquiry about the project ownership within management for the reservation system, and then a question about the response to the IG report, which we didn't really have an update on, but I gather we'll be getting one of those today. That was basically the roundup.
Does anyone have any questions for Gordon? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Thank you, Gordon.
All right, the next order of business is the Treasurer Comptroller's report. I'll just note that I've taken the opportunity as chair to have the Treasurer's report come at the very beginning of our working meeting. I just think it'd be important for the board to know our financial status before we move into any other questioning or decision-making in our board meetings.
Okay, so we have the business summary for the month of November, and as requested, cut this down a little bit to give more time for conversation. And so we'll start with on the business summary, the financial snapshot for the month of November. So we had $8,374,000 in revenue, which was below budget by roughly $256,000. Other income of just over $1.5 million. In totaling this, total revenues together were down below budget about $262,000 for the month. Operating expenses of $11.7 million, which were $862,000 below budget. Putting this all together, we had a net operating loss for the month of December of $1,945,000, but that was better than budget by $585,000. So we're expected to lose roughly $2.4 million. Year to date, we have a net income of $15,084,000, which is $300,000 below budget. For the month of December, the budget is calling for roughly a $4.7 million loss. If we stick to budget in the month of November, we would be under budget for the year. We'd be coming in about $10.4 million roughly when we're budgeting 10.7, about $300,000 below for the year, for the bottom line. So looking at the revenue slide, as we talked about for the last 24 months, automobile revenue is down $236,000. That's being driven again by the standard fare autos. That category, and we'll see in one of the later slides coming up for the year, that's the category that's down in the traffic numbers. The other area is the passenger revenue of $170,000. That's down 6.9%. In the category in the passenger revenue where we're down is the fast ferry. The other categories are up. But putting that together, we're down for the year roughly $3.2 million, and that combined is really the automobile revenue of $3 million and the rent revenue, which is the barge, of $900,000. That's being offset by some of the freight revenue and passenger revenue. But that's the driver of that $3 million below budget for the year. Operating expenses, big note on this is the maintenance expense for the month was down $715,000. Sanctity repair was down $562,000. As you recall, we received no bids on that, so that's a expense savings we'll realize for the year. The Eagle was down under budget by $446,000 in the month, but we'll expect to recapture that cost for the month of December. On a positive note, the fuel year to date was down $1.5 million. We budgeted $3.16. We're currently at $2.51. Our hedges, we are hedged through 2026, looking to start going into 2027, where the hedges for the first quarter are roughly where we are for the whole year of 2026 for the budget. And if we can lock those prices without any inflationary adjustments for the 2027 budget, I think that would be a win, where we do roughly about $11.6 million expenses. And if we can have that as a flat or a decrease, I think on just a hedge for risk exposure, there's a lot more risk to the upsides. We're going to start working on those hedges for 2027. Passengers for the year end, and these are unaudited numbers. Total passengers for the year, we're up 0.6% at just under 17,400. Both routes were up approximately the same percentage. The one outlier we can see is the fast ferry and the Nantucket route being down. Vehicles carried for the year, all vehicles, including freight, we're up 451 for both routes combined, to 0.1%, are very flat. And you can see in both islands, predominantly on the Vineyard route, the standard fares were down, both for the standard fare autos and the standard fare trucks. While on the Nantucket route, those combined to roughly being up 300 vehicles in the pickup side. But overall, we're pretty flat for the year on the traffic statistics with both islands combined. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has regarding the business summary or anything that was in their packet.
Any questions from the board?
Mark, given what you know for what we've seen for this past year, and now that we're into January, what concerns do you have with our current budget going forward?
Current budget is the inflationary pressure and the expenses, and the changes that we're having. We're rebudgeting, and then what do we have to offset that? Looking at on the revenue side is, one is the standard fare got to flatten out, where our leading growth item is an item that we're getting about 30% of the cost on for each ticket we sell. So we need to remap some of that on the revenue side. So those are the two areas that I'm looking at.
And that rematching is something that we could have done and put into effect this year?
That would be for the 2027 budget and the 2027 policies that we're going to be talking about this afternoon, and some of that, you know, whether it's off-peak pricing, peak pricing, how do we make boats fuller? How do we look at the, as we talked about, because Mr. Solito mentioning, how do we tighten up the excursion program to make sure it's targeting the people who actually need it and it's being used for what it was actually designed for, things like that. And then better, as part of our strategic plan, we talked about, I believe it was the August meeting, better, more time on the planning process, where the numbers that we're getting are matching what's actually coming through on the, when the project ends.
Okay, just to follow up then. So that's for the following year, but for this year that we are now in, 2026, are there concerns that you have about 2026 that need to be addressed in 2026?
Right now, no. I think that with the budget, we generally go on the conservative route for the budget side. That we'll see, it'll be the forecasting of the future reservations that will be coming in next week. That'll be a telltale on the overall economy and how many people are willing to book. So once we see that, we can have a conversation at that point.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, but anyone else on the board? And I guess just following up from Jim's questions, it appears to some extent we're lucky that we weren't that far off budget because of our operating expenses being far lower than estimated. But I guess, what impact is this going to have on our capital budget and capital account? Because I know that we have quite a few capital projects upcoming, especially with vessel replacement plans. And obviously that net is what we use to fuel our capital account.
Yes. So if for every dollar we come in below budget, basically on the net operating on a cash flow side, not the paper expenses, on the cash flow side, that's going to be one less dollar that at the end of the year, one way, shape, form is going to cascade of funds into either the replacement fund, which funds the capital projects, or the bond redemption fund, where last month I asked for permission to move from the bond redemption fund back to the replacement fund. So when any misses on the operating budget will then impact the capital budget.
And so based upon this outcome, where are we in terms of meeting our projection on the cascading funds?
Right now, we're on pace for meeting the cascading funds, maybe even a little ahead of the cascade funds. And next month I can give that's one thing Alex and I were talking about, is getting a comprehensive future capital budget and outlook on with the new general manager, and putting some of these bigger projects to rest, and getting with the IT steering meeting, getting a better understanding of all the pieces that are feeding that project, what's operating expense, which is occurring over the next 5 years versus a one-time expense, we'll be coming back with a comprehensive plan for not only 2026 capital budget, 27 and 28 and going forward.
I think that's an excellent idea. I'd love to see a slide during each treasurer's report of where we are in terms of our other cascading accounts, and as well as meeting the capital cascading funding that we're looking at, rather than just operating. And I've asked for this too, I think it would also be helpful, as we see that the only area perhaps or the area that seems to need to grow in terms of revenue is in terms of our excursion fares, in the sense that that's the growing ticket, right? That's what's being used more, not the standard fare. That we get a report on just the variance in the cost of service each month in terms of our operations. If I'm making myself clear, so that we see how much of each fare, not only in terms of we're getting in terms of revenue, but how much is that covering our cost of service and the variance over time.
Okay.
Sorry.
Nope, yeah, we'll work on that, yes.
Moira, you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Jeffries, and congratulations on being chair. Mark, I'm interested in knowing how well our hedging program is doing, vis-a-vis taking advantage of the lowering increases in oil. And I think they're anticipated to be even lower in the next couple of months. Where do we stand in terms of taking advantage of that lower price, given our hedging program?
Sure. So I don't have the exact number on the last year's budget in front of me, but I know for a fuel cost, we hedged in at a strike price of $2.26. So anything above that delivery price, we would be getting a rebate back. And then there's the time value money, or the premium you're paying, or your commission fees to buy those hedges. And last year, I believe it averaged about 21 cents for 2026. So we came in roughly all in about $2.40. And so it's also as an insurance policy for budgetary purposes that anything above that, we know we can cap our exposure to that $11.6 million unless you had a black swan event where the physical delivery in New York Harbor the physical delivery in Providence, say, was diverged greatly compared to what the the contract price in New York was. So that's where your risk is. And we saw that during COVID because of labor, that those prices went off about 50 cents a gallon at one point. And then the risk right now is very low. So the premium cost is low. Compared to a couple of years ago, we were paying like 40 cents a gallon. Now we're at 20 cents. So right now, I actually have an email in with our consultant to look at executing 2027 to try to get that price at the 2026 budget or below. So if we can not have an inflationary increase on 11.6 million, that's going to help the overall budget for next year. But hopefully,
So you're looking at capitalizing today's current lower prices for 27.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And then if the prices come in lower, then we pay the lower price. If the prices come in higher, then we would get a rebate. And there's a small window between the actual price and there where we're out of the money. But we also have to look at it's like insurance, where if we had something in the Middle East, then all of a sudden price jumps up $20, $30 a barrel, we're covered.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Mark. All right, moving on to the general manager's report.
Thank you. Thank you, Board Chair. So I'm going to start off with forgive me, it's my first day as a board, holding a board meeting, but I'm going to start with the response to the Inspector General's report that came out in December. I'll just read this verbatim. I've received the Inspector General's report dated December 25th, dated December 2025 on the Steamship Authority, and I appreciate the time and effort that went into pulling it together. I'm reviewing it with the board and the Steamship team and view it as an important tool that will help us strengthen the Steamship Authority's governance, operations, and public trust. The report appropriately identifies areas where the improvement is necessary. Many of its findings reinforce concerns previously identified in the 2018 HMS Consulting Report, confirming that these challenges are longstanding and require focused, sustained action. I'm committed to addressing these issues promptly, transparently, and with accountability. Below are 3 priority areas that I intend to work with the Board of Directors and the Port Council to start focusing on immediately. The first is governance, oversight, and role clarity. The Inspector General cites gaps in governance, inconsistent oversight, and unclear roles between the board, management, and staff. These same issues were highlighted in the 2018 HMS report, which emphasized the need for clearer decision-making authority and governance structure. I intend to address these as follows. Conduct one-on-one meetings with all senior level and mid-level managers to review decision-making and clarify roles within departments. Establish standardized reporting and performance dashboards so the board receives timely, consistent, and decision-ready information. Implement a regular schedule of strategic and operational reviews to strengthen accountability while avoiding micromanagement. This will improve transparency, clarify authority, and allow the board to assist with policy and strategy while management executes. Second area is financial controls, planning, and transparency. The report identifies weaknesses in financial controls, long-range planning, and documentation supporting key decisions. Concerns also raised by the HMS report. I intend to address these as follows. Strengthen internal financial controls, including approval thresholds, documentation standards, and reconciliation practices through all departments. Implement a multi-year financial plan aligned with the capital plan, service objectives, and labor agreements. Improve transparency through regular financial forecast, variance reporting, and clear communication of risks and assumptions. These steps will strengthen fiscal discipline, reduce risk, and support informed long-term decision-making. The third area is strategic planning and operational alignment. The Inspector General notes an absence of an integrated long-term strategic plan linking service levels, fleet investments, workforce planning, and financial capacity, a key gap also identified in the 2018 HMS report. I intend to address these as follows. Build on the current multi-year strategic planning process that is in place and improve operations and boost in the areas of future planning, capital forecasting to develop a fully comprehensive board-approved plan that has clear priorities, timelines, and performance metrics. Align fleet align fleet replacement, maintenance planning, and workforce development with service reliability and customer expectations. Treat the strategic plan as a living document, reviewed annually and adjusted as conditions change. This will ensure daily decisions support long-term goals and resources are allocated intentionally. In closing, taken together, the December 2025 Inspector General Report and the 2018 HMS Report provide a consistent and credible roadmap for improvement. My focus will be to partner with the board and the Port Council on turning these findings into concrete actions, measurable results, and lasting change. By strengthening governance, improving financial discipline, and aligning strategy with operations, all coupled with clear and transparent communications, the Steamship Authority can better fulfill its mission to the islands and the traveling public.
Thank you, Alex. A tremendous amount of work, I think, in planning has gone in on your part in addressing this, having just been on the job for 1 week. And because of that, I think you've laid out a roadmap for us to move forward with. I would say, in part, we wanted to wait till we had our new general manager online, I think, before we started moving forward with addressing the IG report. And if the rest of the board would entertain me, I would say that I think the best thing for the board to do now is to save a conversation for the next meeting, to really look at the concrete actions that this board will move forward with the plan that you've outlaid and what we need to do and be responsible for, so that we have time to each individually meet with you, share our concerns, and focus on what we think needs to be improved from the board, and then have a real dialogue with a sustained amount of time at our next board meeting to address the not to address the IG report, but to set forth the actions this board's going to take for the next year. If the rest of the board would entertain that idea, I think that's a most positive way for us to move forward and constructively. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Monomoy conversion. The Monomoy arrived yesterday in Fairhaven. It was very exciting to see the boat roll in and see all the families there of the crew. I'll ask Zach Lawrence to come up and talk about the Monomoy conversion.
Yeah.
So this presentation is a little dated, as Alex stated. The Monomoy did arrive yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning to our Fairhaven repair facility. But here we have just a photograph of the wheelhouse complete. This was they were standing by for one of the trials. Here's just a photograph of the aft wheelhouse console, and the background is the U.S. United States. Sorry, thank you.
It's so scary.
Here's a photograph showing the aft half of the Monomoy with everything installed, life jacket boxes, fire extinguishers, the rescue boat, and everything needed make its voyage north. Here's a photograph of the Monomoy underway. And the milestones, everything is complete in terms of the shipyard. It departed Alabama Shipyard at 1700 on Wednesday the 7th. The time the presentation was created, the Monomoy was docked at Morehead City. And just to restate now, she has arrived at our repair facility in Fairhaven. Just a look at the project as a whole, which includes the Barnstable, Aquina, and Monomoy. So payments made to date, 86 million. Outstanding commitments and allowances, currently 371,000. Current estimate for the project as a whole is 87.3 million. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from the board?
If I may, when the board took the decision to go after these three vessels, we did so because we'd have identical vessels with identical training, with identical crewing, with identical capacity, which is very important when we swap vessels in terms of capacity for the traveling public. And we've had hiccups along the way, which you do with any new vessel, new or secondhand. I think the three vessels that we now have are a terrific investment for the Steamship Authority. And I'd also point out that given the cost overruns, which are not surprising with vessels, particularly in a conversion issue, that to come in at 87 or 90 million dollars for three vessels, when a new Woods Hole hybrid would probably cost us $100 million, was a good move, and I think it will serve our public well. So thank you for that, Zach.
I agree with what my friend Jim just said. That to buy those three vessels was a super move. It'll buy us 25 years without having to worry about, old age and whatever. And when do you anticipate this will go into service?
So now we still have to undergo Coast Guard inspections and get the certificate in our sector with Southeast New England. So we'll be working in the coming weeks to prepare for that. And we still have finishing touches to put on our CCTV installations, Wi-Fi installations, and vending machines, etc. So we still have a little bit of work in front of us.
How was the trip up?
They had a very successful trip north. They stayed over in Morehead City for a little bit of weather, but otherwise it was a very successful trip north.
Yeah, no hiccups?
No hiccups.
That's what I like to hear.
Anyone else?
And in case the world doesn't know, buying a boat, whether it's new or used, there's a shakedown period, and you can't avoid it. But they have, how many miles is that? But Doesn't
Had to
matter.
defer it.
What did you have, 3 stops?
3, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
4 with Bridgeport, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Ooh. What's the live? Did Moira have any questions? I can't
No.
see her. All right.
Can you see me?
No, our monitors went down, but we can hear you. That's why I asked.
Oh, okay. Nothing on my end that I need to do, right?
No, you're good. No.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, the monomoy came up on the inside passage, came up through New York and up on Sound to avoid weather out in the ocean. Took a quick stop in Bridgeport to pump sewage and get some more fuel, but I met with Captain yesterday. They're feels a touch faster than the other boats because the Skag. But we will do, I think we're gonna do, once we get her up into service, we'll do a hot wash on the whole project and try to identify where any areas where we can improve going forward. But so far it looks, it looks positive. It's a nice addition to the fleet.
And you mentioned, is that then something we're going to look to do to upgrade the first 2 SVs when they go into the first dry docks?
So the Skag extension is a component of the Barnstable's dry dock package.
Okay.
Which is out on the street now, and that bid opens on February 3rd.
Just curious, how are we gonna space the dry docks?
So the Barnstable dry dock this June, and then the Aquina and Monomoy are slated for dry docks in 27.
So, yeah.
All right.
How is the props doing?
Well, we're doing well.
Are you refurbishing the other one?
Yes, the propellers that came off the Barnstable are wrapping up, being refurbished so that we can have them. So we have to return the blades that we borrowed from Hornbeck Offshore Services. So they'll get put back on the Barnstable during the dry dock.
And we still don't know where it happened.
We're still continuing the investigation on that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
There's a lot of water between here and Nantucket.
Yes.
All right. Next item.
Next item, Zach, continuing with the island home.
So the Island Home just began its dry dock at Thames River Shipyard. Here's a photograph of it on the dock, the first day on the dock. This is just a photograph of the Woods Hole end propeller and rudder. This is before any cleaning. And then here we've removed the seats in preparation. We're doing some deck renewals on the port side. Just to address the worn deck. And so the milestones for the total dry dock, after propeller and shaft reports, we'll make the decision to pull the shafts based on the cutlass bearing readings. We'll do hull blasting, hull coatings. We have a generator to overhaul. As you saw from the photograph, we're doing the port side deck renewals on the O1 deck. We're renewing the pilot house ceiling tiles. We have several pumps to replace, and then we'll undock the vessel. A quick financial snapshot of the project. It's early on in the project, but we do have 2 change orders for some damaged side shell that has to be repaired, both captured by Coast Guard 835 work list item. That I'll take any questions for the Island Home.
Excuse me. Thank you for that. I've noticed in the last several years that these estimates and contracts have come in very close together in this process, which is fantastic. But can you speak to a little bit about how the estimates are developed so people understand that there are things that are unexpected that come up, there are things that nobody thought of would be an issue and then all of a sudden are. And you know, how you handle that.
So we begin, the port engineer assigned to the vessel works with our project engineer to develop the dry dock spec. And that has to take place ahead of the budget for the year that the dry dock takes place in. And so they begin with the work list items. They work with the senior chief and the senior captain to develop the work list items. The first 9 or 10 items in the dry dock package are what we call our boilerplate, so covering shafting, propellers, rudders, coatings. And then the items beyond that are the items that we need to work on. So because we're doing that, you know, we're starting that process between 12 and 18 months ahead of the actual project commencing. That's a lot of time for the vessel to stay in operation. And so those extra items wouldn't be captured because they take place post spec development. And so we do our best to manage them. We have allocations in the spec to help capture steel allowances, the shafts and propellers. We hope to not have to draw them every year, but we have an allowance captured to help maintain that.
Fantastic. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just like that, the structural steel survey that we're doing in this dry dock is for the preparation for the specification and the next dry docking. So our time, we're in real time now, where at the beginning we had a lot of variance because we didn't have the historical benefit of having all the gauging reports done ahead of the dry docking. So now we've been able to keep the variances and change orders, especially structural steel, in order. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so just a quick note, just to add, the INO is now at dry dock at the Fairhaven shipyard. She'll be undergoing her credit dry dock and Coast Guard hull inspections. And the Woods hull is currently in its repair period at our repair facility in Fairhaven.
What was that fracture on the exhaust?
The one that took place during its in season was in a shell plate that was right next to the exhaust plate. Yes.
That does seem to be a reoccurring problem. Is there a way to mitigate that during in-season service?
So we've taken steps over the last several years to help manage this. We have, in way of the exhausts on both port and starboard, there's a thicker 25 millimeter plate to help disperse the heat generated from the exhaust. We also worked with Gladding and Hearn. We've put in isolators at the ends of the exhaust to keep them off of that 25 millimeter plate as well. And we've also we extended the tips of the exhaust a little bit to help get that hot gas away from the hull. But heat cycling aluminum, it doesn't like a lot of heat.
Mhm.
And so it's something that not only our ferry deals with, but most aluminum fast ferries have an issue in that area. But we monitor it. Our chief engineer, our senior chief, does great extensive inspections on his watches. So that right now is the way to manage it.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, next item we have is the Woods Hole Terminal Reconstruction Project. I'll have Mark Amundson lead the conversation there.
Morning, everyone. So if we can get up the first slide, Sean. So this is some photographs of the utility building. We'll be taking delivery probably early next month. Right now for the building itself, and here's some photographs of near completion of. This is kind of an entrance area in the glass garage door, and adjacent to that pictures of the oil room on the first floor. And of course, the picture on the right is the entry on the north side. Next slide. Okay, this is, we get some real good, our people going to be really happy with the utility building. It's a photograph of change lockers And on the right, we have, that's gonna be a multi-purpose room with, you can see a view of the Woods Hole Terminal Building. Next slide. We're outside on the east end of the utility. This is ready for the pour for the sidewalk areas. Next slide. And this is post-concrete pour area in that same adjacent to the new emergency generators you can see in that top right quadrant. Next slide. Just some photographs of the finished area of the pour of the sidewalks. Next slide. And we're in the terminal building area now. Again, this is some stone and undercover areas with heating. Obviously, in the wintertime, it's with these temperatures, it's a lot of good work out there by Cal Antonio getting this done. It's tough to work with temperature variations. Some weeks you have 40 degrees, others you have 5. Next slide. Just there's some photographs of some internal piping, copper nickel piping of various fire systems, etc. Next slide. More additional photographs of the inside the terminal building of the water piping. Next slides. Where this is the electrical installation and Cal Antonio and Griffin working together for the installation. Next slide. Just some shows some photographs of internal conditioning of the area. Next slide. And here we can see some overhead photographs and panels going in place inside the terminal building. Next slide. Here we have some more curtain walls and windows installed on the east and west side of the terminals, and they're finishing up with caulking inside and outside of the building. Next slide. Here we have grading on the west side of the terminal building, and that now is complete at piers 1 through 3, and later in the year we'll be doing the final paving and striping of the areas. Next slide. So this is kind of an overview of the building. Next slide. So where we stand right now, our budget for this phase of the project is $39.1 million. We're about 72% in the project completion. We've had 3.7% in change orders totaling $1.19 million, which is 3.7% of the budget. And our current estimate is $37 million. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
The workshop is LEEDs compliant also along with the terminal.
Yes.
You know, we don't take much advantage of the extra money we're spending, you know, to protect the environment. The papers are loaded with complaints and things like that. They never look at the costs. The reason this building costs what it does is because it's LEEDs compliance. Now, I don't know how much would be extracted if you just had a regular, you know, 2x4 building, you know, whether it didn't reach that type of compliance, it'd be much cheaper, much cheaper.
Yes, and we could probably follow up with another meeting on what that cost delta would be, but that you've hit something very important on the head.
Yeah, and I'm saying this, you know, for anybody listening and writing stories about the steamship, which is, there's no lack of it. They never look at what has been done in the last, you know, 10 years or so. Between that and porous pavement and the Thomas B. Landing, parking lots, we'll be talking about, you know, the photovoltaic, you know, cells and stuff like this. We spend a hell of a lot of money, you know, to be environmentally green. including the electric buses, which are $1 million apiece. So every time I pick up the paper, it's something negative. But I just want to impress, who's ever writing these stories, give us a little credit. I mean, there's a lot of things that have been done to push through. So I'm done with my speech.
It was a good one.
Anyone else have any questions before I ask my own? My question goes more towards the attachment on the Woods Hole construction update. I see that in our packet, we have the traffic circulation study has been attached. I'd ask that perhaps we discuss that at the next meeting, a little bit in more detail, but even more importantly, has this been shared and discussed yet with the Town of Falmouth, DPW, traffic? Because obviously our traffic circulation on our property will obviously affect the traffic circulation then onto Cowdrey Lane and Railroad Ave. And it would be great to get, have some collaboration and feedback with the Town of Falmouth. Also, sharing this document and offering to speak to the Falmouth Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. I know they've been a great amount of concern, especially in the short term, about how we've limited access for various reasons to the bike path throughout construction. We could have more communication there. And then I would also say that given the traffic circulation, because I know not only has it been people within the Town of Falmouth and using the bike lanes, I know there's been a lot of the traveling public have been concerned about safety issues and passage marking, that this might be another opportunity now that we have this traffic circulation study to perhaps do a town hall meeting, information meeting on what our traffic circulation plans are moving forward. Because I'd like the board meetings to be for board work and public, and have more town hall meetings for public information. And I think this is equally as important as, the policy, potential policy updates that we're doing with regards to the reservation system. So if we could have that happen offline before the next meeting and then discuss that at the next meeting.
Sure. I think that's a great idea. Absolutely.
Just remember, we can't talk to each other because we're deliberating.
Well, I know, but I'm saying they can talk to the Department of Public Works and the town, have a town hall meeting with the traveling public. They can reach out to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee meeting, and then we can talk about this transportation peer review assessment when we get that information and feedback from the public at our next meeting. Agenda item.
I think that's a great idea. I can do that.
And we've had a really, especially with the traffic unit, the Falmouth Police Department Traffic Unit, and Sergeant Oliver has been, I think, a really great resource and collaborator for Steamship. Any other questions? No? Okay. Next item.
Next item is the reservation system project update. We have
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm the project lead on this, and with this, we have Tom Innes from Gibbous, which is going to go through our slide deck.
All right, great. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so just a quick update as we will have a lengthy discussion this afternoon that we're really looking forward to. We wanted to bring into this meeting just a reminder, some of the high-level elements of the overall project in terms of structure, addressing some of the questions we've gotten, and then also a project update. So on the next slide, you can see the overall implementation timeline. This is what's been consistently shared with the board. We are following overall the IDEA timeline as proposed in their bid response. And so we have just to orient folks, across the top, we've got the months, seasons, and then the different release periods for the Steamship Authority, for the winter, summer, etc. And we have gone through the setup analysis. We've completed that. We're now in the solution design phase, working closely with the vendor, and you can see where we are by the large yellow star that says "We are here" in January. So we're about midway through solution design, and as we are working on the solution design with the vendor, this has brought up a lot of, as I've mentioned in the past, policy questions, areas for discussion, as we're looking at, not just the system, but also what's the operational implication? What does this mean in terms of the experience of the traveling public? How do we make updates to what the public experience is, the commercial experience, et cetera? And so working through all those components, and that's informing the solution design, as well as the solution design informing some policy changes. And we're now at the point where the IDEA is starting with the system configuration. So they've been a good partner in as they are working on design elements, also working through how it's going to work, not just conceptually, but actually building it into their system, working through what are the changes to their APIs, et cetera. And so we're, as part of the solution design, as planned, we are now going to be working with them on developing a finalized timeline to get us all the way to go live. So the go live dates on this are still the proposed. They're still what we're working towards, and as was always planned as part of solution design, to finalize and say, okay, we have to go through the process of like, all right, this is how the software works. This is what you guys need in terms of any configuration, customization, and then making sure that we've got a really solid plan to get there, because upcoming from solution design will be the continued configuration, then testing, and more testing, and more testing, then training, and a whole series of readiness activities in terms of getting ready for deployment. That'll be several months as identified on the timeline, and then planned what we are adopting from IDEA, an R1 and an R2, where the system goes live, and then R2 is where we fully switch over to the new system, both in terms of the online experience and then also the terminal experience in taking tickets.
Then you marry in with the website. How does that fit?
Yes, so so there's already work on the website as part of this effort, and the plan is to, as when we go live with R1, that's when you will be able to make reservations in the new system for the next season, not for the current season, but for the next season. And then at R2, you'll be able to make reservations, and then that's also where we'll change the terminal experience. We're still working out at what point does it make sense to switch over to the new website, because at R1 is when, not to get too deep in the weeds, but at R1 is when we will go live with IDEA's white label website, where this is using the website that essentially they've already configured for the ticket functionality. And the look and feel will be adjusted for the steamship experience. And then the rest of the website will be, we will need to switch over to. We haven't figured out the exact right point in the process to switch over fully to the new website, but that is the plan still.
At this point here, when you marry them in, there's obviously things are gonna have to be rewritten to join them in. And at what stage is the website at this point? How difficult is it gonna be to marry them in? Because was a concern.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the advantages of the approach of the white label website is if you picture it almost that the ticket experience is just a page of the website. So when you hit the button that says I want to book, you'll go over to that page and you'll have the whole booking experience. And then the rest of the website is the sort of the new experience of what you have on the current website. So being able to find, parking and, about the Steamship Authority and meeting notices and all of that. So because we are really leveraging what IDEA has with essentially their booking page is not just a page, it's actually a whole integrated experience that's already tested, that already works, it's already being used live with other ferry operators. It drastically reduces the complication of moving over to the new website.
Yeah, because it's been mentioned that the website was a waste of money and never should have gone there. Is that true?
I don't have a
I won't
comment
get
on
you
that
into
one.
a political thing, but I'm specifically asking because, the accusations that are made that they couldn't, it was a waste of money to do that. And I just want to make sure that what you're saying is the integrate, what they're doing, the reservation, integrates with that system.
I mean, what we're trying to do is really move forward with all the trying to take advantage of all the great work that went into the website effort, that project, and then also linking it with everything that IDEA is bringing to the table in terms of the functional design and readiness.
I get it. I looked at this in the afternoon meeting today and stuff, and there's quite a few things that don't integrate. The reservation system won't take everything that we've been playing around with for years. I mean, we've built a very complicated reservation system where when you read this and they don't even have it, in their system because it would only handle one and not five and things like that. I know I may be confusing you because I confuse myself when I talk about electronics. I continue to say, I still haven't figured this damn thing out. And I grew up with a chalkboard and a pencil and paper. That's it. So you have to take that into consideration.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, I think to my way of thinking, and when we finalize this, simplicity is the key. Somebody's got to be able, like me, and to use that system flawlessly. And as I say, to me, excuse me, my wife's, has made the best statement. The tutorials should be written by somebody who knows nothing about electronics. Because you guys use a different language and you got, alphabets or a PH something system and what the hell is that? Excuse me. But I'm here voting along with Peter and the rest of the board. And we've been criticized pretty dearly of what we did and what, we were approached. And I just want to make sure that we didn't go off the cliff.
if I, to my understanding and from the IT Executive Steering Committee, that the traveling public, because it's a, this white label website from the reservation system, will not know that they're at another website hosted by someone else. It's basically our new one. We don't have to put up a new website to use this, but we will, and use the work that has already been done. And it'll be just like you're just kind of going through your operator exchange or walking through a door into someone else's property. But you'll never know you're in another property when you move to this other website. So the issue with our past development of our website and what took so long and what didn't work was that the integration between our aging, ancient reservation system that we currently have was we weren't able to find fast or economical solutions so that it would integrate with the website and you could talk to the reservation system through the website. That's no longer going to be a problem because we'll have this new reservation system that's cloud-based, hosted by IDEA on a white label web page. And eventually we will revise our web page, which will then have a doorway to get to that white label to be branded. So we don't even need to worry about integration APIs. It's really just kind of a token pass through to get to the white label. Yeah, Mark.
If I may, it'll mirror what as we've shown in the open house is the Calmac ferry, where they have that booking portal. You pull it up there, white label booking engines right there. And to your point, to reiterate, is that we were calling, the ADK was calling the AS400, the reservation system, and trying to match what data's where. And now IDEA is going to do all that work for us. They have a module, you plug it in, and we don't have to get involved with where's the data residing and how to get it. It's a more simplified process.
If I may, I think the important thing for the people who are our customers and clients to know, we have open houses and information sessions on the schedule in the next several weeks. And I would urge the traveling public to attend these sessions. When we have information sessions, what I find personally frustrating is in many cases we get perhaps 12 people, and it's the same 12 people. And in some cases, the majority of them are actually Steamship Authority people. So this new system, which I'm highly in favor of and very supportive of, is not going to just change how you do things, but what you can do in the reservation system. So it's vitally important for people to pay attention to this, to take the information of this, because it will change for the better, but it will change your behaviors in terms of dealing with the Steamship Authority. The rules will be different. Some of the windows will be different. Things will be different. Please, general public, please attend these information sessions. And I would urge our communications group to put a special emphasis on getting as many people to these sessions as we possibly can. Thank you.
With that, I would, if Mark and Tom, if you could kind of move to just address that specific issue, our timeline, the next crucial step that the public will be interested in, the timeline to revise policies, and then specifically the information sessions. If we could move to that.
Sure. So just very quickly, we've got our dashboard. Folks are welcome to dig into the detail, but we continue to be green with nearly all of the elements. The only element that is yellow is just the reservation configuration, just because it's taking a little while to work with the new vendor and nail down all these components. Part of getting this back to green is getting through these policy discussions so that we're aligning our policy with then how they're configuring the system. And so we need to make sure that we're there's a lot of work on the Steamship side to make sure that policy is reflective of how we're configuring the new system, so we don't end up in in a situation where we've configured the system one way and our policy reflects something else. So moving on from this, there were some questions around the project team. So I can cover this next time. We did talk about this in the Port Council meeting, but just we've extended the project team to add in, give some more visibility to some of the external teams that have been part of this. And this will continue to grow as the next step is to bring in the beta testing team that we've gotten a lot of volunteers for, which we really appreciate. On the following slide, we're working again on the policy updates and changes. So there's been a tremendous amount of work going into over the last 4 or 5 months, really digging into the policies. This is actually part 2 of revising policies because we actually had many hours of sessions in the spring looking at policies in preparation for the vendor coming on board. And we have a discussion today, and then we're looking to bring some changes to vote with the Port Council and the board next month. And so the last piece on the next slide is just to reiterate, everyone, please come to the town hall meetings. We call them town hall meetings because we want as many folks to show up and give their voices. These are really, they've been productive discussions. There's been a really productive exchange in these meetings. And so we're looking to continue that with this next in the series of meetings on Martha's Vineyard on the mainland and Nantucket. So we'll be having in-person meetings this Thursday at the Tisbury Emergency Services facility in the community room that's downstairs, and then the mainland discussion, which will also have a virtual option, will be happening here on Friday, and then next week on Tuesday we'll be having a meeting on Nantucket. It was a little challenging to find a location. It was a little more difficult than we thought to find a spot to meet on Nantucket in the middle of January. Apparently the island is very busy with meetings. And but thankfully the folks at the Dreamland Theater, we were able to work out a deal to use their space. So really appreciate that. And just one more thing to mention on this is we're having shipper meetings and then town hall meetings. Folks are welcome to come to the shipper meetings. The shippers are welcome to come to the town hall meetings. But we've separated these because with the shippers, we're having discussions very specific to the commercial shippers, their needs, how they work in the system, some of the things that they'll be able to do in the system, their experience, and then specifically some of the policy changes around the shipping experience and things like the pre-season process, which are, again, very specific to the commercial shipper population and a little different from the traveling public.
Question, Tom. What will you bring up at this town hall meeting? I mean, one of my constituents said, what are you going to talk about? And I'll say, well, the reservation system. Well, where do I buy a ticket? I mean, what are you going to explain to them to make it easier? I mean, without being facetious, we have 3 million passengers.
Yeah.
They're not going to fit in town hall, and nobody's going to be interested. But the fact of the matter is, we're trying to educate a local constituency that uses the thing on a regular basis. Is that where we're heading with that?
So great question. So the meetings, the town hall meetings are meant to be a follow-up to the discussion we're going to have this afternoon. So probably the best preview for folks would be the items that we're planning to cover in the afternoon. And some of the policy changes we're looking at are some things like what are some of the implications of moving to like linear feet as opposed to the spaces, the way that spaces are booked today. There's going to be some changes with how the waitlist functionality works. And so giving folks an update on on how the wait list works. Standby will look different, so looking at changes to standby, and then also just looking at how the multi-ride coupons will work a little different in the system. How you apply for excursion will work a little bit different in the system. So we need to update our policy to reflect that. So we're planning on at these meetings touching on not the little things, but really some of the bigger things that we know folks use all the time when they're booking their trips, and getting their feedback on, we're proposing with operations some ways that we're looking to change operations to make things work more efficiently. But there's a lot of trade-offs. And so we need folks' thoughts on those trade-offs and what's important and what's meaningful, and how do we make sure that the new system is both, take advantage of the efficiency of the new system, but also making sure that we've captured one of those priorities that are really important to to the traveling public, especially to the islanders.
Yeah, they have certainly more an interest in the islanders do than the people living in Hyannis. If the steamship is full, which it never is, they can take the High Line for passengers. And the High Line in Hyannis takes more passengers than the steamship to Nantucket. And we don't go to the vineyard from Hyannis. The High Line does, but very, very minimal. And you're going to have that at the terminal, or do you know where you're going to have it at the venue?
Oh, the venue for these meetings?
Yes.
So we're not, so this time around, we're not planning to have a meeting in person in Hyannis, but instead have the meeting in this location, in this room at Palmer.
You won't get a lot of people from Hyannis, maybe not even me.
It will be virtual though.
There will be a virtual option for the meeting that's scheduled for Friday. We've scheduled it for the town hall at noon, so hopefully folks can call in. We had a really good response to the last virtual meeting. A lot of folks were able to call in, and so we're hoping this time works for people.
Yeah.
I know that you also, oh, sorry, you have something else?
I'm just going to say you're progressing well. Thank you.
Thanks.
I was also going to do quickly at this time an IT Executive Steering Committee update. First, just to note the change at the December meeting of the Port Council and Board, we voted to expand the IT Executive Steering Committee to include 2 new members. So in addition to myself, John Cahill and Eric DeWicki, Gordon Carr and Rob Rainey have both generously volunteered even more of their free time to serve on this committee. And I think it's really important in this year, especially as we start looking at policy, to increase the size of the committee, and especially have someone from Nantucket, as well as Martha's Vineyard with John Cahill and Rob Rainey from Nantucket. What we really focused on is first, a draft of a procurement and budget plan. I think that the Marks put together and was presented to us at the last meeting, so that we have an overall sense of the procurement that needs to occur over the next year to implement the process and the budget that goes along with it. Mark Rozum is in the process of wedding those 2 documents together so that we have a real detailed procurement plan moving forward with what the budget costs are, including allocations between operating and capital, so that not only the IT Executive Steering Committee can make better recommendations to the board, but so the board knows what buckets the money's coming from and a little better understanding of its budgetary impact. And then the next big thing we talked about, especially since our committee decided we needed more resources, was to look at the resources allocated to the project team. So not to waste your slide, Tom, on the project team slide, what we really focused on was the external teams and the vendors necessary to support this program. We had a lengthy discussion about making sure we identify who within the steamship is the point of contact or the person of accountability, so that our vendors or external teams are doing the work under the contract that they are been contracted to do, and make sure that we're adequately writing the scope of that work so we don't see change orders or very few change orders. And that'll be the next point. And you'll see that as a kind of out from that conversation, there is a series of procurement requests to the board today to augment the support of this project and project team. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add, Rob?
Thank you for your service.
All right. Any questions on this? All right, we can move to the next agenda item. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mark.
Our next item is the proposed preseason promotion for high-speed passenger ticket books. Sean.
So I'm here today to ask for a vote to approve the sale of high-speed passenger ticket books at a 20% discount prior to the resumption of the MVIN's high-speed service, which is scheduled for March 30th of this year. As many of you know, for the past 14 years, we've offered this discount as a promotion for the return of the high-speed service between Hyannis and Nantucket. It continues to be quite popular. Nearly half of the yearly ticket book sales occur during this period. In 2025, we had a 2-week period from March 16th to March 29th for the sale, which resulted in just over 4,100 ticket books sold and just over $1.1 million in revenue at a cost of about $275,000 due to the discount. This was down slightly from the prior year, but still above average for the sales for the event. We're proposing this year to continue that discount offering. At the January 6th Port Council meeting, the members requested an extension of the sale to 3 weeks. We opted with their consent to add the 3rd week to the end of the sale to include the time period in which the boat is running, have more time where the boat's running, where the sale is going on, so that people will see the boat back and then hopefully remember if they didn't get their sales, their books. So we're proposing now to run the sale from Sunday, March 22nd through Saturday, April 11th. And again, this discount would apply solely to electronic ticket books for adults, seniors, and children, and those sale prices are listed on the staff summary. And as part of this, we're requesting to the authority for the general manager to change the dates should there be a delay for the return of the INO for any reason. And as noted, the Port Council did vote to recommend the matter subject to the extension of that sale period. So we're asking for a vote to authorize the general manager, all of us really, to offer the 20% discount on the electronic ticket books from March 22nd through April 11th, 2026, and to allow that flexibility as noted.
Any questions?
I'll move that.
I was just gonna second it, because if I don't, I will be voted off the island, so.
All right, so there's been a motion, it's seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Malkin, aye.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, aye.
Thank you.
You get to stay on the, at least till the next meeting. All right.
Okay,
All right, moving on to procurement.
I think we're about halfway through all my paperwork here so far. So I'm gonna start off with 2 items for Zach can present on the Vineyard Haven terminal upgrade and spare parts for the Martha's Vineyard.
All right. So this is a request to vote of the members to reconsider and approve 25% cost contingency and authorize the general manager to execute change order 001 additional deck repair quantities for the Vineyard Haven Ferry Terminal Slip 1 underdeck concrete repairs, contract number 08-2025 to ACK Marine and General Contracting of Quincy, Massachusetts, or ACK, for an additional cost of $445,395, which is a 49% increase over the awarded contract price of $911,000. At the meeting on November 18th, the members approved contract number 08-2025 Vineyard Haven Ferry Terminal Slip 1 underdeck concrete repairs with ACK. Their winning bid was developed based on the square footage of defect areas identified and quantified in the authority's bid sheet and is detailed in its underdeck defect schedule table. At that time, ACK, the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, bid a price of $911,000. As mentioned at the November 18th meeting, contract number 08-2025 identifies 9 repair types for this initial phase of the project. The 2025 budget estimate for this phase of the project was $1.35 million. Ahead of ACK commencing its work and during the project scheduled evaluation period, it was determined that the repair areas required to complete each repair type as defined in the individual repair details exceeded the square footage of the defect areas identified in the defect schedule. While the defect schedule captured the locations and extents of the observed deficiencies, the corresponding repair details require work to extend beyond the defect areas in order to properly execute the repairs. The additional square footage associated with the full repair extents was not captured in the authority's bid sheet quantities, and therefore all potential bidders, including ACK, did not consider the omitted square footage within their original pricing. As a result, ACK, as the winning bidder, must perform additional work to complete the project beyond the originally contracted scope. As work is commencing and defect areas are open during an underdeck inspection as required by the contract, additional deterioration or expanded defect areas outside of the 6-inch areas depicted in the drawing details may be identified. These presently uncovered conditions could warrant additional repairs and result in potential change order requests. The full extent of the necessary repairs, including total repair quantities, will not be known until each defect area has been fully opened, inspected, and documented. Photographs of the proposed work areas are attached here too. Any future change orders resulting from increased repair quantities will be based solely on observed and documented field conditions identified during inspections, measured repair extents, and the application of the necessary repair details. All change orders will be evaluated in accordance with the contract requirements and subject to review and approval prior to authorization. Accordingly, change order 1 does not represent a final adjustment to the contract, and additional change orders will likely be forthcoming as the work progresses and site conditions are fully uncovered and examined. Approval at this time will minimize potential project delays, avoid disruption to ongoing work, and ensure that the repairs are performed in a timely and compliant manner. Our recommendation is that the members vote to reconsider the 25% cost contingency assigned to contract 08-2025 and to authorize the general manager to execute change order 001, additional deck repair quantities, for the additional scope and associated costs required to reconcile the difference between the defective areas identified in the underdeck defect schedule table and the actual repair areas required by the detailed repair criteria. Approval of this change order will allow ACK to proceed with the necessary repairs in accordance with the contract documents and maintain the project schedule.
5 minutes before any question. Just before we go to questions, to understand the request, the recommendation is for us to withdraw our previous authorization for the 25% contingency overage, vote to approve this current change order, and then the expectation is any future change orders, since there's no longer this overage authorization, would come to the board if it meets the threshold. Am I correct in understanding what's being requested?
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. With that, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I think this is probably from Mark Adamson. Mark, how was our bid or our original defective schedule so far off what we uncovered?
I think I'd like to have the, Sean, if you could put up some of the drawings. I mean, the photos. Yes.
I don't have that.
This started, I believe, back in 2021. We did an extensive underwater survey and also an underdeck survey, which we identified areas. We had Waterfront Consulting as our as a group we used, and we went under with taking accurate measurements of the affected areas, which developed a certain amount of types of repairs. I believe, Zach, what is there? 10 different types of
There's
repairs?
nine
Different
repair
types. So with measurements taken, we took a total area, but what we do not even know to this date is once we start getting underneath and removing the concrete, we may be chasing cracks that we cannot even see to this date. I can say that the overall, I'll call it a picture. Here's an example right here. If you could expand that, you can see in that particular one, you can see a crack mid-length on this. This is a bent on the underdeck structure in Vineyard Haven. We're going to excavate that cement to chase this crack. We don't know where it's going to end. So the only thing that we have that we can see is the actual visual exterior crack. We don't know where that crack is going to propagate or the final length. So we're going to have to excavate that concrete and then inspect the rebar underneath until we know the full area. So it is not possible to put a firm amount of area in this contract because we don't know where we're going to end up. I can say that the overall condition of the Vineyard Haven terminal is excellent. We've done all the underwater on all the pilings, and they're in excellent condition. If you remember last year, the year before, we effected repairs on 5 pilings out of a total. How many pilings do we have in this area? I mean, it's extensive, but overall condition is excellent. This is the type of repair which we get into areas that we don't know the full scope until we excavate the concrete.
I appreciate that. But my follow-up, Mark, is here we have something that's 49% higher than what we originally thought it would be, based upon at least what's in front of me. And if that's the case, and it's certainly understandable, you wind up chasing cracks, you don't know where they go. I understand all of that, particularly with cement. Should we be more conservative in our estimates so that we don't put something out for bid and then we come back and it's 150% of what we thought it was?
If I may, so this change order is not for scope creep. This is to reconcile the difference between the defect area and then the repair area. So on the bid sheet that went out, only the defect area square footage was referenced and captured, which is what all the bidders were legally bound to bid on, separate of the specification and how we told them to make the repair.
I understand all that. But then we got into the work and realized there was more to do. And my question simply is, as we look at capital and as we look at our expenses, to make sure that we are prudent in covering ourselves rather than winding up with big overages such as this.
If I were to add in, I think the conservative part should have been when we first did the RFP.
Correct.
That was where it should have been, that we took into account the full repair area, knowing that, okay, this is the damage area, but we already know going in, or we should know going in. And I think the initial survey took into account that 6 inches from either side of the crack. And that gives you the conservative base point. And then beyond that, I think when you added the 25%, that was to take into account any chasing of a crack.
Thank you.
The error was made right up front with the RFP.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And so if I may add to that, so for this project, we've hired a clerk of the works who will be on site as work is progressing. And with that clerk of the works, we also have an OPM working in the background. And so a clerk of the work and an OPM moving forward will be something that we use to help manage these projects ahead of them going out to bid. And so one of the jobs of the OPM is you hire them first, take the spec and have them review it. And yes, it's a cost, but their initial review and feedback to have a better, tighter spec will lead to savings and fewer change orders moving forward.
Thank you.
So if I follow up then, two questions. I guess the first is, if this was an issue, Alex, as you point out, is the scope of the RFP, how are we going to change our RFP procurement process moving forward so that we don't missed the scope. And then the second is just in terms of the board trying to weigh the pros and cons of moving forward on this. What would be the cost if we replaced the entire concrete underdecking? Because to me, there's like a threshold where, okay, if we're chasing the crack and we keep on doing a change order to chase the crack, at what point does that exceed the cost of if we just replace the entire underdecking? I mean, that, to me, that's a data point that we would need as a board.
I certainly don't have an answer to, that makes sense to me. Yes, if we have, and I think there's something like 100 pilings underneath this dock, and we're talking about 9 of them. So it's a very small percentage, but I think that would be something to take to whoever our project manager is or who did the initial evaluation, that there should be some threshold at which point, okay, if you hit 20%, you might as well fix all of it, because you are going to keep coming back, because they are going to start to degrade. I think that's something we need to go back and look at and give you an answer to that. And on the other side, there was your first question. I think that's what Zach was talking about, hiring the OPM at the beginning, before the RFP goes out. So we make sure that the estimates, everything matches up before we send it out into the public space.
And then I would just follow up on that. OMP, is that something that we should be looking at to have as we move forward with capital projects, just internally as a steamship employee and not just an external vendor? And I don't have any preconceived notion one way or the other, but I think that's something we should consider.
My quick response is yes.
Okay.
But that's something we need to check into and revert back.
At this
Having
stage,
been in construction, I can tell you,
More,
no matter what.
Bob's asking a question, but more, I understand you're next.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, okay.
no, absolutely. I defer to you.
Okay. Yeah, well, I've been in construction and I know how difficult it is, and especially if you have a hidden crack or a fault somewhere. Looking back historically, there was concrete faults at the Hyannis terminal. There was concrete faults in the bus terminal, I believe, a few years ago. It's not unusual, but the problem is putting a number on, what the costs are going to do. All we got to do is look at the last 10 years, at the new terminal, when they're spending 2-3 years putting in pilings and hitting ledge and things like that, even though they did test borings and all of the proper things. And even to come in to have, one piling that needed to be gravity fed, or not fed, but a mooring set in concrete and not submerged by 100 and some odd feet. Very difficult. I'm in support, of what you're doing, and I do agree that you've got to spend an extra, time to find out these things in advance. But you're always going to find something you didn't have. Just always going to find it. So, and when we talked about the 25%, I think we talked about 10% at first. We moved it to 25. In the town of Barnstable now, when they put out projects, they put 25% contingencies, especially in older buildings and older works. So it's a tough deal, but everything that Chairman Peter said about cutting the risk and is true. When we've got to continue to do that. We're going to do water.
Yeah, this is disappointing. This doesn't seem well thought out at all. I mean, the problem is when you're dealing with cement, I would think that would be foreseeable when they're bidding on the project. So now we have a successful bidder who doesn't have to compete at all on the added work? I don't know what the answer is. Can it be rebid at this point? But you know, it just, it seems like such a high price with the add-ons in comparison to what would or should have been foreseeable. And you know, I'm very uncomfortable with you know, that cost overrun, very.
Mark, yeah.
Well, I think that the way I see it is we started this back in 2021. And we identified there's two parts to this, the underwater areas with all the pilings. And the second part is the underdeck structure. This is part of a long-term plan. It's unfortunate that we didn't get the overage in the beginning. And I think that's kind of, if you look at all the numbers, that's where it should have been originally is this, and you are correct. We need to get better on that more. And we need to do that much better.
I mean, at this point, you know, it almost seems like we have no options other than to have this cost overrun shoved down our throats without necessarily having a competitive component to how much these additional repairs cost. That's what's really troubling.
From what I understand is this, when the RFP went out, the repair area was identified as just in the cost section. Their only costing was for the defected area. So we knew that we had to do these additional 6 inches, and the initial estimate was at 1.35. So in theory, we're still underneath that number with the addition here, but this wasn't a mistake that we didn't realize that we had to do this. It's a mistake that we didn't put in the RFP.
Oh.
In fact, it's a per unit cost, right, for the repair per inch. That's predefined on the bid, how much they do an additional foot or 2 feet, it's squared out.
They're held to the unit pricing of their original bid.
Yeah, and Moira, I agree with you. And when we were speaking when the GM was addressing the IG report, and I was saying that we should talk about our action items as a board at the next meeting. I think you're really pointing out that we need, as a board, to look at the procurement process that the Steamship Authority uses and how they present us information in terms of voting on these contracts, and especially the RFP process.
Yeah. I mean, we had tremendous problems with the cost overruns with Cashman, tremendous. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to see that for the authority.
Agreed.
Look at it, when we vote on something like this, we vote on something we know. And that's why we put in a contingency. But let's say you got $400 and some odd thousand, so you've thrown the whole project out for a rebid. How much you're gonna save? Or will you save? Or will they, this prevail? I mean, if it's gonna cost $400 and some odd thousand, doesn't matter who's doing it, they're gonna have to be close to whatever that number is. I mean, I think you'll waste a whole lot of time doing it, with questionable results. I mean, if you say they're gonna throw that in, yeah, I'm a player, but they're gonna have to charge for it.
I remember Moira's comments on this subject when we got into the marine end of the Woods Hole terminal as well. We were running into a lot of cost overruns with Cashman and change orders and so on. And I think that is part of the process that we've just talked about, needing to really review our RFP process and really review the scope of work before this stuff goes out for bid. Having said that, however, we are now at a stage where I don't think we have an alternative, and I would make a motion that we approve the request that's before us.
So there's a motion to approve rescinding the 25% cost contingency and then authorize the general manager to execute change order number 001 for an additional cost of $445,395.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. I stated that correctly, Mark? You're looking at me like, all right.
My question is, do you want a new cap or what threshold? Because there could be change orders that don't, that underneath the board's overall rule, but aggregate could add up to a number. Just for transparency too. Meaning if you have $10,000, it's 10,000 on its own, but it wouldn't go there, or do you just want us to report it?
My preference, and see what the rest of the board is that we vote the motion that Jim just made, and that this is the RFP process, and that very question is an item for the board's working agenda for the next meeting. Is that, Maura, is that feeling good?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna vote no, just out of principle. I mean, 25% is a pretty generous number. To exceed that, without further exploration, I just can't, in good conscience, vote for that.
Well understood, and it's more that we'll have this as an agenda item for our next meeting for the board to talk about the RFP process. So,
okay.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, nay.
All right, it's passed 4-1.
Thank you for that. Now we're on to the next is also exactly talking about the Martha's Vineyard engine parts.
Requesting a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute purchases of miscellaneous engine parts for the MV Martha's Vineyard, including blowers, cylinder heads, fuel pumps, 12-cylinder emission kits, fuel pumps, jacket water pumps, lube oil pumps, and other miscellaneous parts, as per quotation number 2804381 to Marine Systems, Inc. of Chesapeake, Virginia, for a total contract price of $363,780.86, excluding core charges. The Steamship Authority intends to purchase EMD diesel engine parts suitable for the planned engine overhauls to be conducted during the 2026 fall repair period for the MV Martha's Vineyard. The engine parts will be for the planned overhaul of 2 EMD port and starboard main engines, model 12645E6. The total price of $363,780.86 does not include core charges. The 2026 operating budget estimate for these parts was $375,000. Marine Systems, Inc. is the sole source distributor for EMD products for operation in marine vessels. And our recommendation is authorize the general manager to execute the purchases of miscellaneous spare engine parts for the MV Martha's Vineyard, including all the stated parts, as per quotation 2804381 from Marine Systems, Inc. of Chesapeake, Virginia, for a total contract price of $363,780.86.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to get it on the table.
All right, well, we'll have a motion and then discussion. Second?
Yes.
Been moved and second, discussion?
Yeah, just one quick question. This is just the parts. We are gonna install them ourselves. Or are we gonna, hire an outside contractor to do that?
We're gonna have to evaluate what we have for maintenance personnel when the planned overhaul is done, but we do have it in the budget in the event that we need to use an outside vendor to do the overhaul.
Sure.
Any other discussion, questions? All right, roll call vote.
Just for clarity, motion to approve.
Oh, motion, yeah. Is it a motion to approve, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
And your understanding, Mr. Malcolm? All right, yes. All right, roll call vote, motion to approve the recommendation for the purchase.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, that's the last of the operational ones. Now I'm gonna ask Stephen Coleman to come up and help me with the next round of procurement is all IT related.
Good morning, everyone.
I'm
Good
confident
morning.
This in 15 minutes or less.
It's up to you. So the first one is to request that the members authorize the general manager to renew, subject to GSA contract 47QSWA18D008F, the purchase of an annual one-year subscription renewal of Granicus targeted messaging service with Granicus at Carasoft of Reston, Virginia, for a total contract price of $124,500. This service is the means in which we notify via SMS and email to our customers.
Is there a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, I.
Malcolm, I.
Randy, I.
Tierney, I.
Second on the agenda. To request that the members authorize the general manager to renew, subject to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts ITS 75 contract, the purchase of an annual one-year subscription renewal of Microsoft M365-E3 with Intrasystems LLC of Braintree, Mass. For a total contract price of $136,713.50. This is for the renewal of our Microsoft platform, which provides email, Teams, and all the other Microsoft Suite products.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd love to, never mind.
All right.
Teams is for the board.
Teams is not for the board because.
I found that out.
Yep.
I'm still nostalgic for
Huh?
Word Perfect, but that's
Don't change again.
I like WordStar.
Maybe we can all use MapQuest later. Roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, I.
Malcolm, I.
Randy, I.
Tierney, I.
All right. Contract's been approved.
What is this one? I have this for the, what is it?
The one before this.
Oh, staff. Okay, okay. Okay. This one's to request a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Intrasystems LLC for IT augmentation services in the, under Commonwealth of Massachusetts contract ITS 73 in the amount of $275,000 even. And this is to provide staff augmentation for the IT department for the purposes of augmenting a limited application developer resource specific to the integrations for the reservation system project.
We should say that again.
Yes, sir. I'll just read off here.
Okay.
The authority has limited application developer resources already committed to supporting and improving the current environment, as well as responsible for several integrations vital to the success and timeliness of the reservation system replacement project. So this contract will augment my staff services.
Thank you. I'll move it.
It's been moved,
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, I.
Malcolm, aye.
Rainey, aye.
Tierney, aye.
You're on a roll, Steve.
Yes, sir. So this one's a bit different, and I don't want to confuse the two. So I'll be very specific. To request a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement, again with IntraSystems LLC for IT project management services. This one is under the Commonwealth of Massachusetts contract ITS 75 in the amount of $208,000 $2,008.18 even. Now this one is, there's a need for experienced project management resources to manage complex and comprehensive projects so they stay on time, on budget, and identify and mitigate, if not eliminate, risk. This is not to augment services of the department, but rather manage the services themselves, specific to the reservation system project.
Is that, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, ask.
Well, I'll make a motion that we can hard.
All right, it's been moved for approval.
Approve, yes, please.
There's a second.
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay.
Stephen, if I take all of this together, all of these intrasystem things, am I incorrect in understanding that almost all of this is to give us, the Steamship Authority, the staffing and the expertise we need for the new reservation system that was not in our original forecast or budget?
Original forecasted budget for this project?
For the entire project, as we looked at it. Let me give you background. One of the
Sure.
questions that I'd asked through this term was that we had enough staff to actually do the work that they have to do with running a steamship day to day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and do a major technology reservation system issue, overhaul, replacement. Is this essentially the monies that we need to successfully get this done?
That is an absolutely true statement.
Thank you.
And I know Mr. Jeffrey had a comment.
I second the motion.
And just to, and Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, with the last IT Executive Steering Committee meeting last week, this is all part and parcel of the procurement plan, which, that's been laid out, as well as the budget. And in fact, given the initial estimates before the ADIA contract was even awarded, what it was going to cost, not only the award to the reservation system vendor, but the support necessary, this is still well under the original estimates.
Yeah.
And then there's this, and then the addition is, or not only is IntraSystems familiar with the steamship as a current partner, but it's on the state contract, which makes it a much more secure and easier procurement.
Thank you.
And Mark?
Yeah, the original estimate was roughly about $20 million, and we didn't know what integration to the vendor, was it a software as a service implementation? So now that we know the vendor is, we're really hammering down on those definitive costs versus estimates.
And by next board meeting, we should have the integrated final procurement plan integrated with the budget. So you can see how this all lays out.
Thank you.
Bob, did you have a question?
No, he just answered it. Jim's question.
Any other questions or discussions? All right, roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, I.
Malcolm, aye.
Rainey, aye.
Tierney, aye.
Next, to request a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement, again with IntraSystems LLC, for travel alert notifications integration. This one is under Commonwealth of Massachusetts contract ITS 75 in the amount of $124,015.90. Now, this one in particular is, so IDEA has their own notification platform that only services their customers, our customers within their service. This introduces a notification platform that integrates into their system, but notifies via SMS or email to individuals who are not commercial customers, who are not passenger customers outside of our customer base that have signed up for notifications.
And replaces Granicus.
And replaces Granicus.
Thank you.
Well,
Will this be an annual service that needs to be funded?
No, sir. This is just for the work necessary to do the integration.
Okay.
There are costs associated with the notification platform, but not this.
Okay.
any other? Is there a motion to approve the contract?
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Puckett, aye.
Randy, I.
Tierney, aye.
Next, to request a vote of the board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with IntraSystems LLC for the website Phase 2 integration with the authority's new reservation system currently under development with IDEA of Napoli, Italy. Now, this one happens to deal with part of the conversation earlier today, in this meeting. This has to do with the API integrations into the new reservation system.
Okay. I'll move it.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All right. Terrence, you figure out which one of the four just seconded. All right. Are there any questions or comments, discussion?
No, I think we beat this up pretty
All right.
well.
I point out too, this is below the normal threshold, correct?
Correct.
For authorization.
Yes.
Sure.
But in light of all the IT ones coming for you, I want to make sure this one's in front of you as well.
I think that is a wise move. All right.
Oh, did I not mention the price of this? I'm sorry.
No, it's $93,624 below the threshold. For
I
board
apologize.
approval. That's all right. I just wanted to point that out. It's part of our evidence. All right. No further discussion. Roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Randy, I.
Tierney, aye.
I have 11:58. Keep going, Steve.
No, Stephen's
Stephen's
turn.
done.
Finish.
Oh,
Now it's
all right.
Mark Rozum, the last two.
All right.
2 minutes for two procurement items. The first one on the agenda is to sign a 3-year agreement with Shift4 for payment processing. They bought our previous credit card processor, Igen. In the last 2 years using Igen compared to the legacy credit card that's being processed on the reservation system, we saved approximately $142,000, $129,000 per year. And when we finally cut over, we should realize that savings as well. So we're looking to sign a 3-year agreement with Shift4 as our credit card processor during the implementation of the reservation system.
Anyone want to make a motion before discussion?
Well, I'll make it, John.
All right.
Move that we approve.
Move for.
I'll
approval.
second.
All right, any discussion? I do have a question, Mark. In this regards, will there be any additional cost in terms of integration once we go with ADIA?
They've already been
Go on.
working with ADIA. They have a module that plugs in. And some of those will see benefits on the new system. But no, as far as I'm aware of at this point, we don't see any integrations unless we do some customization or something outside of the original scope.
Any other question? Roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Brandy, aye.
Tierney, I.
All right.
Last one is for a 3-month extension on, for support contract 07-2023 for Gibbous. We've been using them as support contract for project management, change management. We'll be asking for a 3-month extension totaling $135,000 for January through March. Not in the staff summary. Any additional extensions we'll bring to the board regardless of the dollar amount. For full transparency. Previously, we had a couple sprints of 2 months that were under the 100,000 thresholds to see if we could, if there's any cost savings there. But looking at the complexity of the project and some of the items that Stevens brought up with staff augmentation, their staff is so familiar with the system and the process. They're acting as FTEs, helping out, especially the operations team, and it's much needed. But looking for approval for a 3-month extension, and then we'd bring something back for the period of April on, if needed.
And they're on the state.
And they're on the state contract as well.
Is there a motion to approve this contract?
Motion to approve.
There's a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Brandy, aye.
Tierney, I.
12:01. Almost. I guess, is there any old or new business to discuss before we go to public comment? Seeing no old or new business, we'll move to public comment. I will say that in terms of public comment, if comment includes any questions that were discussed as an agenda items today, the board and executive management will do their best to try to answer those questions in real time today. If there is a question made or question asked that is outside the scope of today's agenda before the board, that'll be addressed either in writing or be on the agenda to be addressed at the next meeting. But we will attempt to address any questions as to the agenda that was discussed today in real time at this meeting. And with that, open it up for public comment.
Sure, if anyone has public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon, and I've got Beth O'Connor.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's go back to those 3 OSV votes. I've reconstructed every bit of spent on those votes. I've listened to the meetings. I've read through all the meeting notes, constructed them. I take strong exception to you now considering that a success. I also question why the board is presented with an original estimate of 80 million when the original estimate as approved by the board was 46 million. We are now at an 85% cost overrun. I'm very surprised you think this is going to last 25 years. The board in April of 23 assessed the situation, called it a colossal failure, said we have to have a postmortem. So I'm now asking you to have a public postmortem of those 3 votes and I'm happy to supply all of the numbers, all of the spend to the board to bring that up to speed. But the thought that we wouldn't have learned from a lesson and be congratulating ourselves on this purchase is a little bit surprising to me. So I'd like to see if we could schedule that public postmortem that you all suggested we have. And you don't have to answer that. You can just take that under advisement. And just one little tiny last thing. You know, I tracked the spend on the ceremonies to welcome these boats so far, which is trivial. I understand it's trivial to some of you, but $50,000 a boat is not trivial with drones and hats and tents. And I'm just thinking in the interest of public spending and public perception, perhaps we could cut back on the welcoming for the Monomoy. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Christine?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome Alex to his new role. Wish you the best of luck as Chair of the County Commissioners on Martha's Vineyard, and look forward to your success and that leading to greater success for the board and the steamship in general. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to meeting you and the rest of the board out there.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
And Amy Cody?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Amy Cody. I live in Chilmark, and I'm a member of the Steamship Authority Citizens Action Group. I have a comment and a question. My comment is in referral to Mr. Jones's comments about how the board and the steamship is being perceived by the press in stories lately. I know that he said he wants some credit for the good things that are happening, like how you're taking care of the environment with the 3 electric buses, for example. I would say that other ferry systems across the country are light years ahead of the Steamship Authority in regards to sustainability, including electrification, hybrid systems, and fuel that is used. I would also say that he says there was a mention in a recent report about some problems with the website. And what I would say is that Jeffrey Shapiro, who's the Inspector General, he's bipartisan. He only does about 9 projects a year, and he chose the Steamship Authority as one of his projects. He said that the website development was a colossal failure, a cascade of failures. Quote, it was ill-conceived, poorly executed, an unacceptable waste of public funds. Further, he said the steamship and the prior GM and the board members appear to be unclear of their respective roles in executing complex projects. So for me, when the press writes about that, they're reporting the facts, and they're reporting facts that were in a 59-page report. And it's not trivial, and it's well-deserved. And so what I'm asking next is, what is the board's plan to monitor the new GM's action items? While it's heartening to hear that the new GM has some action items going forward of how to address the 59-page report of the Inspector General, I want to know what the board's plan is to actually monitor and make sure that those plans are executed.
Thank you for your question. As we discussed during our agenda, that is an agenda item that the board is discussing in a working session and public meeting at our next February meeting. And if you'd like to send me any ideas that you have on how to assess performance, I'd be open to receiving.
Okay, Peter, thank you. I will.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
That's all I have.
Anyone from the users? All right. All right, I'd like to read a statement prior to the board going into executive session. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authority's meetings in executive session on December 4th, 2025 and December 9th, 2025, and to review and discuss the authority's strategies with respect to litigation, the exchange, lease, or value of real estate, and security, because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority's negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include Captain Albert Brox et al. Versus Woods Hole, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket Steamship Authority et al. Civil action number 1:22 CV 10242. 590 Thomas B. Landers Road Parking Lot Solar Project, Falmouth, Mass. And the procurement and deployment of cybersecurity software, hardware, and related services from Interest Systems, LLC. The public disclosure of any information with respect to these matters would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is being called, After the conclusion of the executive session, we will not reconvene in public. Again, may I have a motion? May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. I'd also like to point out the meeting has been 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'll try to get it to 2 hours next month. And now with that, may I have a roll call vote?
Jones, aye.
Jeffrey, aye.
Knock and I.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, aye.
We are adjourned.
Moira, we'll restart this Zoom, so we'll sign off now if you want to come back in 5 minutes.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.